Peter, how are you, sir?
I'm great. How are you, Glenn?
I'm good. Are you encouraged or more frustrated when you saw the Durham report and what's happening in Congress and what they have been releasing lately on the Biden crime family?
Well, Glenn, I would say I'm not a pessimist. I'm not an optimist. I'm a realist. But I feel like we are making progress. I think that if you look at the House Oversight Committee's report, we now have a congressional committee using its subpoena power, revealing to the American people what the Biden family has been doing. And let's remember, Glenn, they've only got the banking records of 4 of the 12 banks that the Bidens were involved in.
It's crazy.
So, yeah, I mean, right now they're at 10 million. I'm confident that when it's all said and done, they will reach 30 million, which is what we believe the Bidens received based on the laptop. And I'll tell you, Glenn, I think the investigation is going to take a very interesting turn, specifically focusing on Joe Biden himself. So we noticed in the laptop there was a email exchange in 2017 where Hunter Biden is complaining about how he's tired of paying his dad's phone bill.
Right.
And we went back and looked and found that Rosemont Seneca Partner, his business, gave a private phone to Joe Biden in 2009 and paid for that bill throughout his vice presidency. So this is not a government phone. This is not a family phone that Joe Biden had as vice president. This is actually one paid by Hunter Biden's business. We located that phone number. It was provided to certain people, and we now understand that the House Oversight Committee is subpoenaing those records. So we will actually know who Vice President Joe Biden was talking to, the timing of those calls, and I think this could be a potential game changer in terms of really highlighting the role that Joe Biden's had. We know about the meetings. We know about that he benefited from some of Hunter's money, but this could be a real game changer, Glenn.
Okay, so let me ask you, because what the media is saying now, it's exactly what happened with the Clintons. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. No, he didn't. Yes, he did. Well, it doesn't matter. Wait a minute. What? Why have we been arguing? They're now saying, okay, maybe some of this stuff is true, but there is nothing illegal with what Joe Biden was doing. I don't think that is true. There's lots of different angles on this, but they say they can't track any of these things to him using his influence as the vice president. Is that true? And is that the only reason this is illegal? Is if they can say, well, he changed this policy?
No, it's not. And let me give you a couple of examples. I mean, people focus on the sort of quid pro quo that, a politician gets money and they change their vote or they make a decision. Imagine if you've got a county council member who's taking money from developers and he votes for something and he gets caught. His defense that, well, I would have voted for it anyway, is not going to fly. You're not allowed as an elected official or as family members to take payments from people as it relates to decisions that you are making. And the bigger question, Glenn, is do we really want to live in a country where it's okay for politicians' family members? I mean, the Speaker of the House, the Secretary of Defense, the Vice President, the President, for their family to be taking money from Chinese or other foreign entities.
No.
And the standard becomes, this is okay, it's not illegal. I don't think anybody wants that. So they are standing on sand. They have continually shifted their story. And the media's backed them up. First, there were no business deals. Then it was Joe didn't know about those business deals. Then it was Hunter didn't profit from those deals. Now it's Joe Biden didn't make decisions. I think at the end of the day, that is going to collapse as well. These things just take time, unfortunately. You and I talked about this first in 2018, Glenn. You were one of the first people to stand up and say that these Biden deals with China are terrible and bad. That was 5 years ago. We are now finally at the point where we have a congressional investigation with subpoena power where we are actually finding out what they are discovering as opposed to the grand jury or the DOJ. So it's taking a while, but things are moving in I think, a very, very good direction so far.
So the media believes that if there's a whistleblower in the forest and he testifies in the forest, but nobody's there. It didn't happen. That is no longer true. However, the media has doubled down on making sure they're not covering any of this stuff. So what's happening is we are actually becoming even more divided because half the country is being told nothing here. There's nothing going on.
Yeah, and look, what I would say to people in the mainstream media is look at the surveys of faith in America's institutions. Yeah, Congress is really bad. The presidency is really bad. The government's really bad. The media is the worst. The polls consistently show that they are absolutely torching themselves by standing up and basically covering up, I would argue, for this administration. If you change the name from Biden to Trump or to George W. Bush on any of these activities, they would be all over it. And the vast majority of the American people know that. Now, it works for a while, Glenn, as we know, because as you guys were talking at the beginning, most people, unfortunately, don't do a lot of research for themselves. They don't listen to you or the Blaze or other alternative media. But there's an accumulative effect that we're seeing here. There are a lot of polls now that are showing the majority of American people see this as a problem. And my view is if the mainstream media wants to continue to torch their brands and their credibilities for this, let them do it. Let them do it.
So it's not just Biden. When you talk about Hunter Biden going to jail and everything else, that's just only right. We found 170 crimes that Hunter Biden has committed that were all dismissed. 170 crimes. That's pretty remarkable to not be charged with anything after doing this. I mean, like a Bonnie and Clyde hooker show all over the country. But it's not just Biden or Joe Biden. This now involves the IRS, the FBI, the Justice Department. All of it is corrupt.
Yes. And it does show that we have sort of a one-party entity in Washington, D.C., this sort of seamless connection between the Democratic Party and major elements of the government bureaucracy. And let's remember what it said about Richard Nixon. What got Richard Nixon was not the original crime, it was the cover-up. Correct. And I think what you are seeing again, I would say to people in the FBI, people in other government agencies, look at how the American people lack trust in you and how this has happened really over the last 8 years. This is a new phenomenon that generally began with the disinformation about Trump and Russia collusion, cover up as it related to the Clintons' crimes. You'll notice that my book, Clinton Cash, is mentioned in the Durham Report. Again, you were one of the first people to interview me on that book. But that is what is torching these institutions. If they want to go to the mat for this family and for their corrupt activities and destroy the institutions that they have spent their lives building up, let them do it. There's not much we can do about it. We're going to continue to expose the truth and bring it forward. And I still have enough faith in the American people that they are going to make the right choice and really be angered by this.
Let me take a quick break, Peter, and it's maybe unfair because I don't know if you even are aware of this in the Durham Report. I'm sure you are. But the FBI had 3 concurrent investigations into the Clinton Foundation, and they were all shut down during the 2016 election by all the top officials. I'd like to explore that just a little bit because that, again, shows how long this has been going on and the one-party system. Back with Peter Schweizer in just a second. So there's a couple of things. First of all, any comments on the FBI and what we just found out about the Clintons' investigations?
Yeah, I'll say, Glenn, in 2015, when Clinton Cash came out, and you remember we did we shared the book in advance with a couple of investigative reporters in the New York Times. They ran a 4,000-word front page piece confirming all the elements of the Uranium One deal. I was contacted by the FBI shortly after that. And they, didn't tell me what they were going to do, but that really kind of set off the investigation, as the Durham report points out. And what's stunning to me, Glenn, is that, in contrast to the Russian dossier, which they pursued with vigor, which was anonymously sourced, all made up, no way to confirm it. The allegations that we made in Clinton Cash about the $145 million they got from the investors in Uranium One, and the fact that they transferred ownership of that to the Russian government, was all based on public information. We actually had transfers of money going to the Clintons as well. And as the report makes clear, I wasn't aware of it at the time, it was shut down. You had 3 separate field offices that independently decided to look into this. I think it's Little Rock, New York, and Washington. The headquarters of the FBI consolidated that investigation, which is kind of unusual, and said, no, we want it all consolidated. And then they basically killed it. And as the report makes clear, one of the reasons they killed it is because they thought, well, Hillary Clinton might be president, and we don't want to tick her off.
Wow.
So that was
unbelievable.
That was pretty stunning.
And it's interesting that they do the opposite. They consolidated on Clinton, so you didn't have 3 separate investigations. And when it comes to January 6th, they're breaking everything up and not using one investigation. They're making it thousands of investigations. There's a new story out that says that people believe that Obama knew about the family business, the Biden family business, and that's why Obama didn't want Joe Biden to run, because it would be exposed. Do you believe that?
I don't know about him not running. That may be true. But I think definitely if you look at what the Biden family was doing, and there were hints of this, there were some, when Hunter signed up to work for Burisma, the Ukrainian energy company, in 2014, there were murmurs in the Obama camp about, this is not such a great idea. In my mind, there's no question they knew what was going on. The bottom line is they just looked the other way because they didn't care. And that Joe Biden was picked because he was supposed to be, ironically, the guy with gravitas and foreign policy experience. And he was supposed to be the statesman to help this young senator from Illinois, Barack Obama, govern the country and handle international affairs. So there's no question in my mind that they knew. And, of course, as we've talked about in the past and as we've highlighted in our work here at GAI, the Biden has, friends and others who engaged in commercial activities that they benefited from decisions Barack Obama took. So Obama may not have had the adult children that Joe Biden did with Hunter, but he had very close friends who profited from deals handsomely that Barack Obama made happen. So unfortunately, this is not just limited to Joe, and it includes the Obamas as well.
So tonight on the special we're doing at the Blaze, I'm trying to show how these things happened, and we were going back and forth with the writers last night, and I said, I don't know anybody with an offshore account, and the Bidens have a lot of offshore accounts. And a lot of LLCs, I think like 20 LLCs in the family that just pop up. The grandson all of a sudden has an LLC and an offshore account. Do we have any idea what those businesses are? Is there any way to stretch that these family members getting all this money are doing anything for the companies?
Yeah, well, first of all, Glenn, I'll be watching tonight. I'm going to be excited to see what you guys talk about in terms of accountability, because that's the frustration that we all had, right? What's going to be the accountability? If you look at the 20 LLCs that have been identified, and I would say so far involving Biden family members, as best as I can ascertain, 3 of them actually have employees. The other 17 are all pass-throughs, Glenn. They're all pass-throughs. They don't offer discernible services. They don't sell products. They don't bring capital to bear. They are pass-throughs, and they receive money from foreign accounts. Again, a lot of them don't even receive domestic transfers of cash. So it raises the question, obviously, of what they were created for. And the fact is, no one has been able to explain from the White House what actually Hunter and James and Frank Biden and the other Bidens, what their businesses actually are. What do they actually do? When a Chinese investor, I'll put that in quotation marks, sends them $5 million, as good faith money. Again, I've never had a businessman say to me, "Hey, here's good faith money, no strings attached." What does that actually mean, and what are they expecting in return? Because the LLC that's getting the money doesn't do anything, and that I think is the heart of the matter. And I was very excited when the Oversight Committee held their press conference. That Congressman Andy Biggs, for example, talked about who is actually sending this money to the Bidens. These are people in China that are linked to the intelligence services, and the fact that was repeated again and again by Congressman Donalds, that these Biden businesses don't actually do anything. They're not actual businesses in the sense of selling products or services to anybody.